Okay, so quick comic reviews. These are it's the tail end. So I didn't show off these on the cut that I released. I did the first cut of the video, and I realized that, and I think I said this when I was reviewing the Image books. I had said, Cosmic Detective and the White Death, or White Death, the White Death. Um, those two, I didn't show off my July books. We got a huge, my iPad just did a huge lag there, and I wanted that to show up in the video. Probably not. This iPad is starting to go. Not starting, starting to go, like very, very early stages. I hate to say it, but in about a year, I'll probably be forced to get a new iPad. And now it's saying "Don't Disturb" is on. I know "Do Not Disturb" is on, and it shouldn't even be on. By the way, like I turned it off on my phone. Can I just do it here? Because it isn't through iCloud. If you have it off on your phone, no, it's off. It's not on again. If you have it on the iPhone, it'll be on the iPad too. But anyways, and honestly, like at this point, it's another thing. I only use this tablet. I hate to say iPads, make me sound like an iPad kid, but I only use this tablet for the Kindle and for recording videos. That's it. I don't even use it for YouTube. Well, to upload, yes, I do, but other than that, I don't use this for anything. Other than those two things, I can't anymore. Even the phone, the iPhone I have is an iPhone 8, and even that one is no longer supported by Apple because of no more iOS updates for that, rather. But anyways, going back to the video, so when I did all those, I said I probably did say that these were supposed to be July books. But then I realized, well, if I'm starting to read these in June, those aren't July books, those are June books. So I decided, you know what, come July 1st, I'll get on the main course and then do the appetizer beforehand. That way I get right onto them like I want to do for the main course on July 1st. That's the way I am, kind of OCD about it, but at least I didn't go completely overboard and start this little pile on July 1st and get even further behind. Now, what I mean by that is, another thing I want to add is I only got only a few of the main course were library books, and even then, those are added on at last minute. Some books just came in after a long time of not coming in, and I just decided to add a few more in library books. But it's not all library books, it usually is. Because I wanted the first, I was gonna try and do it just in the tail end of June and July, get back on things, but certain things have come up, and so I am forced to kind of just do it in July now. Now, the entire month of July, I hope not, but if worst comes to worst, it'll probably be until I go back to school. Absolute worst case. Won't be going to the library regularly like I have been in the past until I go back to work in August. But hopefully that doesn't happen. But even then, I have so many books on my PC, and even then, I could just cut down the reading and finally get caught up with my TV shows. That's probably what I'll end up doing at the end of the day. And then cleaning my closet out, like getting it all organized because it's a mess of comics. They're not all over the floor, they're stacked, but they're stacked in piles that make no sense. But anyways, super long intro. It's supposed to be a speed run. Super long intro over. Let's get to the actual reviews. First one up, and I'm gonna do these two Venom. Actually, no, two Venom. We're gonna do. That's it. Wait a minute. Nope, sorry. This isn't the right. That's not the right pile. So you guys got a sneak preview of the next few books. All right. This was a did not finish. For the reason, not because I hated it, not because it was boring, or because it was just stupid, or there's so much dialogue, but this is really just a guidebook for if you want to get into the realm of animation. But it also does tell Natalie Norgat's her getting into how she got into the animation industry, and that is pretty interesting. But just when she's droning on about, and I say droning on because I'm not interested in this, but when she's droning on about, oh, you can get in the animated industry, animate this and all that, I just lost interest. And when I found like halfway through this, I was just skimming it, and at that point, I'm like, okay. This is a short book, but there's a lot of dialogue. A lot of dialogue balloons. So I am just gonna... This is obviously not the book for me. I looked up reviews online. They said the same exact thing. If you're not into animation or you don't want to get into animation, this really isn't a book for you. It's not intended for you. I have her Between Gears book, which I think will be more, no pun intended, geared towards me. But this, as is an NA out of 10. If I judged it based on what I've read so far, I'd probably give it an 8. It was pretty interesting. I liked her humor. I liked her style of humor. It flowed really nice. For it having a lot of dialogue, it didn't feel like each page I was reading 2 pages. It felt like it was, at least organized, somewhat, for lack of a better word. Superman Red Son. I liked the movie better. The comic was just kind of a summary. I don't know why this had to be 3 prestige issues that were like 48 pages, and it couldn't just be a 12-issue maxi series. You cannot tell me that back in 2003, no one wanted more of Soviet Superman. It would not have wouldn't have kept purchasing Soviet Superman had it been 12 issues instead of 3. Because it's 3, and even though they are double the length, so not just more like 6 issues, even then, it tells a pretty big story that can't be told in that short amount of time. Thus, there's a lot of summarization, and that makes the book extremely boring. I'm in the minority with this, and honestly, I really do like Mark Millar's writing. I'm loving his Ultimates. For the second time around, his Ultimate X-Men is surprisingly good. I loved his Kick-Ass. That was my introduction into Image, and I haven't looked back since, as you guys know. So clearly, I'm a huge Mark Millar fan, but this one was just honestly watered down Mark Millar, and also just a boring Superman comic. I think what this needed to be like is it needed to be 12 issues, and it needed to have far less narration. Like, if you had the normal amount of narration you have in comics, I'll say around that time, then it would be around that time. Then I would have liked this one a lot better. But as is, I give it a 3 out of 10. Not a recommend for me, anyways. But I still also recommend it. It's not a recommend asterisk, and asterisk being, but form your own opinion and read it though. But I don't recommend it to someone who wants to get into Superman and wants to be entertained. Or who has high hopes for it. What If? This one is really I like these little one shots. Some of these I do want to see being expanded into their own series. The Magic one was all right. It was kind of strange. I'm going backwards. I just realized. All right, so the Magic one. No, you know what? I'll go in order. In order of the table of contents, at least. Flash Thompson's as Spider-Man, I'd love to see that as its own miniseries. X-Men weird one by Brian Hill was stupid and kind of lame. But I liked it more the second time around. The first time I read it, I thought it was extremely confusing and I hated it. But this time around, I probably would give it a 3 out of 10. This time I give it a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4.5. It's not awful, but it's definitely the weakest of all these stories. You've heard this here first. You heard it here first. The Leah Williams story is not the weakest in this What If anthology. It's the one written by Brian Hill. What If Spider-Man as Punisher? Absolutely would love to see being fleshed out into its own series. Not just mini-series, but its own series, like how they did with Agent Venom. Which is ironically Flash Thompson as the... as I said. I was going to say... Because I thought we were calling Flash Thompson, but no, I just realized that's Spider-Man's Punisher. I still feel the same way, but my brain did a tizzy and got them two mixed up because my brain likes to work against me sometimes. Marvel Comics Metal Ghost Rider, that one was probably my favorite out of the bunch. The Punisher one is just too short. It does tell its story relatively well, but it's like reading Spider's Shadow, which is 5 issues, as one standard issue. That's exactly what it is. They summarize a lot. It's not like Superman, where it's boring, so there's a lot less to read, but it does do a lot of summarization, and it makes it feel a little bit more flat than it should be. But Ghost Rider had that perfect, in my opinion, the perfect length to tell that story, but it does kind of end where you could, technically speaking, flesh it out into its own miniseries. Thor as a Frost Giant, that was good, Not awful, but definitely it's kind of forgettable. Like kind of forgettable. I liked the portrayal of Loki. I thought that was pretty neat. What they did with Loki and certain other characters who will... No, it's not a spoiler. What they did was Loki and his mother. That I really liked. And then Magic became Sorcerer Supreme. Was also pretty good. But I think it can stay as a one-shot. So all in all, I give this a 7.5 out of 10 and do recommend checking it out. Especially for that, if you just want, like, you know, maybe you write your own fan fiction. Honestly, maybe the future Marvel writer that will write these stories, that flesh out these stories, will read this based on my recommendation, and then they'll read it, and they'll have all ties to Marvel comics, and then, hey, I was responsible for that. I doubt it, but I'm kind of funny that happened. Not banking on it, obviously. Fantastic Four, 1, 2, 3, 4 is, no pun intended, it is a fantastic Four comic. I read this the first time around. It was a long time ago, back before I was doing this regularly. It was a long time ago. I want to say it was right around the time that I was watching the X-Men movie. So 2014, 2015, let's say. Like way back in the early days of collecting comics. And I really like this one. This, I would argue, was my introduction into comics that weren't just superheroes fighting the bad guy. It was the characters, and the writers cared more about the characters than the villains that are fighting. And that was my introduction into these more grounded storylines that, like, surprised me. Then I read it the second time around, and I didn't really like it. And I don't know what I was on that second time, because this third time was closer to this than the first time. But I'll never get my first time. My first time, I don't think I'll like this one as much as the first time, just because of how long ago it was, and how early how early it was in my comic collecting career. You know, and I almost want to say I read that all in sitting too. Almost want to say that, because this book is pretty thin. I guess I just said to myself, you know what, let's just read this all today, and because it's really damn good. So that will probably never happen again, just because of the circumstances. It being the early days of me collecting the comics, and just being pretty naive as to, I'll say it, being pretty naive back in the day of how powerful comics could be. Because I did not grow up in a household. My father collected comics back in the day, and he gave me his, unfortunately, that never happened. In fact, like, my whole entire family probably doesn't even know how mature comics can get. Well, I should sell them sex criminals. No, God, that'd be kind of weird. I'd be putting a list if I did that automatically. The FBI is listening in on our phones, which is, like, right away put me on the list. I totally stopped talking about it now, because how do they know I'm joking or not? But anyways, so yeah, they don't. So that was my upbringing. Never into comics. No one in my family was into comics, except my uncle for a small period of time. But I didn't find that out until like a few years ago. But I just got into comics because Dark Knight, honestly. Dark Knight got me into comics. But anyways, yeah, really enjoyed this one. I would say this shouldn't be your first Fantastic Four comic, but if you know the characters enough, then I would say this is your best bet. To watch before you watch the movie, kind of thing. Wolverine Logan, a 3-issue miniseries that I really wish was at least 5, because it is pretty quick. It's not one of those books where I was like, oh, that's it. But it is one of those books, one of those miniseries where I really was asking myself, why the hell is this only 3 issues, and each issue is only 24 pages? Because, although this may look like it's the same size as the Superman book, and thus be 48 pages instead of 24, there's this much of extras. It's just a script, which I think is a big waste of money, in my opinion. But I got this at a discount, so I'm not complaining. And no, I do not know what I paid for it, because the price tag is not on here. But even if I paid $20 for this hardcover, I would consider it to be well worth the price of admission, because this one is damn good. Very quick, but damn good. It's kind of like a fleshed out version of those Black, White, and Blood comics. And one of the stories that you read in there, that was the best of the bunch, and that's the story that I'm going to remember the most out of all the other stories in here. That's what Wolverine Logan reminds me of. It's not groundbreaking or anything like that, but it's one of those stories that if it was featured in an anthology book that, it's luckily in blood books, like they're good stories, but I don't think any of them are all that memorable. And Wolverine Logan would have been the one. It would have been the first story in the Carnage Black, White, and Blood. It would have been the baby storyline in the Wolverine Black, White, and Blood. The one that I remember the most. Which I guess it's actually written by Vita Ayala. I almost want to say it was. And that was like one of the best out of the bunch. So that's exactly what that is. And thus I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Zombies Christmas Carol. I kind of wish I had waited to read this from the Christmas season, because surprisingly enough, it does get you in the Christmas spirit for it being a zombie Christmas Carol book. What, do I read this around Halloween, or do I read this around Christmas time? A real Nightmare Before Christmas conundrum. And I would say to read this during Christmas time. Or if you really like it, read both times. Because honestly, I think I'll read this again around Christmas time this year. This is pretty damn good. It is false advertising, though. This is just Ebenezer Scrooge dealing with zombies, not the Marvel characters in Ebenezer Scrooge times dealing with Ebenezer Scrooge. I think they would like that a lot more if they crossed over with Ebenezer Scrooge, but it may have been just a tad bit disingenuous. And what we got instead, I think, is worthy enough. That is the perfect way to describe that book. It wasn't what was advertised, but what we got instead was substantial enough, was satisfactory enough, and well worth the price of admission. I got that for $5, so it's a 5-issue miniseries too, so big bonus there. And I give that one 8 out of 10. But that, as I say, is that. Oh, and pick of the week, I guess Wolverine Logan. No, Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. All right. That's it though, because I gotta get back in my books. Yeah, 7:35. How long has this been going on for? 17 minutes. Okay. And I hit 400 subscribers. This is the first post 400 subscriber video. What I'm gonna do for 400 subscribers, I don't know. I did say I vaguely remember saying I was gonna edit a video, but I kind of would like to have my cousin help me out with it and really get good on it. So maybe 420 subscribers, I'll do that. But even then, he's just so busy, and honestly, he's got ADHD too. So he's one of those people that I got one thing going on, and that's the rest of my day ruined. I think even he's admitted to being like that. But it was a meme I had seen, and when I saw it, I was like, that describes him perfectly. I don't blame him, honestly. If he could control his ADHD, I'm sure he would control it by now. Anyways, but maybe I'll edit my own video. Maybe what I'll do is the next time that I am interrupted doing a video and it's a really, really good cut, I'll end the video there, go tend to whatever the hell I gotta tend to, then come back and then Frankenstein the two clips together, like how I did with Mayhall. But then again, what I might do is redo the Mayhall with the books that I've read thus far. And this is just live, by the way. It wasn't a bit. And that is what I'm going to do for my 400 subscriber video. Is redo Mayhall, because Mayhall kind of sucked. That, as I say, is that. Because I've read some of them, not all of them, but some of them. But that, as I say, is that. And it might be a live stream too.